Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is the Full Ratchet.
Welcome to another special release of Investor Stories. On this installment, the experts discuss a startup that they did not invest in, why they passed, and if there was a key learning that now informs their approach. Here's the segment called Why I Passed.
On today's special segment, we have Greg Sands of Costa Noah. Greg, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass, a story about a startup that you passed on?
Well, the bad passes are so obvious and they're really, really painful. But I will point to Procore as a perfect example of something that we passed on. And we did the work and we were at the finish line. And ultimately, I would say there we felt like they were in the process of moving up market. And our evaluation of their path to move up market and where they were on that was, it was wrong. And we did the work and we followed what the work said at that time. But boy, is that a painful one to have passed on.
I bet. On today's special segment, we have Karen Page of B Capital. Karen, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass? A story about a startup that you passed on?
Our job, unfortunately, is primarily to find a way to say no. We can't say yes to everything. And so applying the pattern recognition around these types of situations probably doesn't yield 100% right outcome. I think that the ones that hurt me the most, though, are not necessarily the ones that I've passed on, because I do feel like most of the ones I've passed on, I have a second chance at. The ones that hurt me are the ones that I issued a term sheet to and didn't get the allocation that I was hoping for. Those often are the ones that you look at and you feel like you got so close, but just not close enough.
Brutal. On today's special segment, we have Ryan Falvey of Financial Ventures Studio. Ryan, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass, a story about a startup that you pass on?
So I passed on one business, which is, I'm not going to say its name because they're so wildly successful that I was obviously wrong. And we were in the cap table and I met these guys for lunch and I was asking them some questions. And I just it was kind of like this lending thing where I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand key elements of how they were going to make money at scale and why it was defensible. And I just got a weird vibe. And so I was like, we should just not do that deal. So we all, listen, we got a weird vibe. No big deal. Let's not do it. Anyway, it's turned into a unicorn a couple times over now. And so it's way wrong. And I still have people that walk up to me and be like, give me a high five. Be like, oh man, way to go on that investment, man. That's amazing. Because we were so far into it that everyone thought we did the deal. And so we actually just pulled out at the very last. So it's pretty brutal. It's definitely you don't forget that.
Oh, but you guys were close to it, but you couldn't get there because of strange vibe and couldn't figure out the long-term moat.
Bad feeling, yeah.
Oh, it's tough.
Yeah,
if it makes you feel better, yesterday I saw a big article on a Midwest company that became a unicorn in 1 year. And it was sent to me by a West Coast investor. They went through an accelerator and the accelerator has a very outspoken leader. Mm-hmm. And the founder was like, yeah, I'm just not going to take money from them because I don't like the guy and this and that, and whatever. And I just got a weird vibe. I couldn't read this founder. He was shopping the deal around, he was like, I worked with this guy, but I don't like this guy. He didn't have good reasoning, for it. Anyway, I kind of got a weird vibe and I was just like, you know what? We're going to step back from this one. But I wrote him an email. I'm like, look, man, you're probably going to be on the cover of TechCrunch in a year, but it's just not the best fit.
Yeah.
And I just sent him another email. I'm like, hey, I was right. Right, but wrong.
That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Also, if you'd like updates on new content from TFR, as well as the top 10 VC articles every week, go to fullratchet.net and sign up for the newsletter. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, overprepare choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.